What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this 4-game NBA playoff slate on DraftKings, the biggest slate we've seen in the playoffs so far. Cannot wait to break it down. Guys, sign up for Patreon today. It is the first of the month, which means all of our Patreon subscriptions are completely restarting. If you want to grab the full value of what we have to offer going forward for every single sport, esports, we have baseball, we have NBA, we will have the NFL once it is covered. Also, we got an overwhelming community just willing to help out each other in these playoffs. So guys, if you want to sign up, again, $20 a month gives you access to all of that and so much more. I'm going to show off for success here in a little bit. Plus, we will be giving away some free subscriptions if you guys show up to the live stream a little bit later in the day. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NBA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on DraftKings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this NBA 4-game playoff slate on DraftKings. But first, we have to go over some Patreon success, guys. We had a lot of it in a lot of various different sports here. With NBA, we had a close takedown and a third place finish. I believe this was a $1 buy-in. Ended up winning $23 on the night for that user. This was my showdown contest. I turned, I think it was $200 into $410. Doubled up my money. That was the screenshot I just showed you. And some more close takedowns here. Utilizing our SuperDraft projections here. These are nickel contests. Turned a nickel into $25. Great ROI there. And this was my MLB success. Turned $150 into $600 in that contest. $50 into $400, $27 into $210, and $75 into $200. Keep in mind these are also different lineups. Looks like we had a close takedown here. Third place out of 59. $1 turned into $6. $1 turned into $3. Great success all the way around. And some more close takedown success here on this showdown slate. Looks like we had another one here. Best overall score, best baseball score ever. Awesome job. $165 won, 209 points scored there on MLB. By the way, NBA playoffs are coming to a close, guys. So if you're looking for something else to bet on, something else to get involved in, MLB, esports, all those things we cover on Patreon. And MLB is by far my best sport, so if you guys ever need help, feel free to sign up using our Patreon link, which is below, www.patreon.com/DGFantasy. But focusing on this NBA slate, we have quite a bit of injury news here across the NBA to kind of break down and take a look at. It does impact some of these pictures. More importantly, with the very first game here with the Washington Wizards, they have Bertans out. He got off to a fire start last game. Unfortunately, he was held out. I believe he ended up hurting his calf or re-aggravating it. Unfortunately, he's going to be out for the foreseeable future, about 4 to 6 weeks, assuming that the Wizards don't progress that far into the playoffs, unfortunately for you Wizards fans. But he is out. It is going to eat into the usage specifically for this game for the Washington Wizards. Taking a look at the Philly 76ers, we have Seth Curry probable, George Hill probable, and Joel Embiid is officially out. Looks like this is more of a questionable tag, but he is doubtful. So Joel Embiid, we are expecting to sit in this contest. With the Atlanta Hawks, we have Cam Reddish still out. That has been the picture here for a while here for Atlanta. With New York, we have Mitchell Robinson still out. Nothing really going on with Memphis and Utah. And then last but not least with Dallas, we have JJ Redick out. He's been out for a while. And then also with the Clippers, we have Serge Ibaka out. He was out last game as well. So definitely going to impact those pictures. But the main game that has a lot of injury news that's going to be impactful here for both these teams is going to be the Washington Wizards at the Philly 76ers. Taking a look here at the chart, by the way, we do have ownership projections for you guys, so it paints a good picture of where my GPP stances are going to be, where the cash plays are going to be. Just taking a look at ownership here for the Washington Wizards, Hachimura got 42 minutes last game, and that was with the help of Bertans being out, I assume. Same kind of picture here. We should expect about 35 plus minutes for Hachimura. I think 35 is a nice floor for him. Projected right now for 39 minutes here in this contest. And taking a look at the usage board, he averages 0.77 fantasy points per minute with just Bertans off the court. When you compare that to his price tag at 4.8K, comes out to a 6.2 point per dollar value. We have him pinned for 29.64 points. So he's a good cash play, good GPP play. Just has a lot of upside for a 4.8K price tag. Yes, he's not the best fantasy point per minute player, but who's going to be when you're playing alongside Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal? So definitely their third option, and I consider him cash viable with a lot of upside as well. Russell Westbrook, no secret here, is going to be an obvious pay-up option here on the slate. 11.4K, 23% ownership. Nothing really more needs to be said other than he gets a lot of minutes. They don't have Joel Embiid on the other side, so him getting to the rack will be a lot easier and a lot more scoring here for Russell Westbrook. 5.5 point per dollar value. And then also Daniel Gafford showing pretty low owned, 20.4% ownership. I thought before the ownership projections came out, he was going to be the highest owned guy here on the slate. He got the start last game, 4.7K, played about 26 minutes, and he did get in foul trouble in that game. So I expect him to get about 25 plus minutes. I think he could potentially play 30 minutes, assuming he does stay out of foul trouble, which he should because Joel Embiid is not on the court. So I do like Daniel Gafford today, and I think he is cash viable at 4.7K, getting those starter minutes. Bradley Beal next on the list, just going to be GPP viable. The price tag did come up on him. 9.3K price tag, just a little too expensive for my liking for Bradley Beal. Raul Neto, GPP, Lopez, Ish Smith, go down the list. Their minutes just don't equate to good fantasy point upside there for the Washington Wizards with their bench players. Next on the list is going to be the Philly 76ers, and we have a lot of usage to go around, taking Joel Embiid off the court. Tobias Harris is going to benefit the most. If we take a look at the usage chart here, he's averaging the highest usage rate on the team without Joel Embiid on the court, averaging 1.24 fantasy points per minute. Next is going to be Shake Milton, Maxey, and then Ben Simmons here, 24.1% usage and 1.18 fantasy points per minute here on the court. When you take that all into consideration, we're going to take a look at the value board. Dwight Howard's going to get a lot of these minutes here from Joel Embiid, projected 22 minutes. So just to compare him to Daniel Gafford straight up, Daniel Gafford's projected to play more minutes and is more productive when on the court. And Dwight Howard has a higher usage rate. Or has a higher ownership, sorry, not usage rate. Actually, Daniel Gafford has a higher usage rate. But just considering those two things, you know, Daniel Gafford might be a nice little pivot off of somebody like Dwight Howard. I consider them both cash viable. Keep in mind, Dwight Howard will have a higher ownership. So 32.6% ownership. He's still a fantastic value play here. 6.1 point per dollar value. But Daniel Gafford was a 7.5, the highest on the slate when computing our numbers. So I do like Daniel Gafford. I think he's a nice pivot. And I think he's even more cash viable than Dwight Howard. Tobias Harris here, 5.9 point per dollar value, 7.8K. I like him more than Ben Simmons just because he has a higher usage rate. He has a higher fantasy point per minute output. And Ben Simmons is also more expensive, 8.1K, 29% ownership, 5.5 point per dollar value. And then the rest of these guys are just going to fall by the wayside. Yes, Seth Curry, you can throw into a cash line at 4.8K. Danny Green, I consider these guys the exact same kind of player because they're both averaging about 0.8 fantasy points per minute with Joel Embiid off the court. Just not the highest upside here in terms of the minutes. They're only playing about 30 minutes. It is a pace-up spot, as you guys know, versus Washington Wizards. They're projected to score 118 points, which bodes well for these shooters. But I'm not thrilled about it here in this contest. I do prefer Hachimura on the other side of the ball, who is projected about 38 plus minutes in this contest. So yes, I do consider a majority of these guys cash viable. Dwight Howard, Tobias Harris. If you land on Ben Simmons, I won't hate you for it. And both of these shooters, so with Seth Curry and Danny Green. But out of this game as a whole, I love Daniel Gafford, I love Hachimura, I love Tobias Harris, and Dwight Howard kind of just is like an okay borderline cash play for me when locking in these players. Next on the list is going to be the Atlanta Hawks, and I consider all these guys straight up just GPP options. All these ownerships are very, very low across the entire board here. DeAndre Hunter is just a very streaky player here so far in the playoffs. It was a blowout last game, so he didn't get 30 plus minutes. When he has been playing 30 plus minutes, he's done very, very well, averaging 0.86 fantasy points per minute when he has played this season at a 4.6K price tag. Almost the exact same kind of player there as Danny Green and Seth Curry in terms of production, slightly more, but also the Vegas total is lower on this game total. Keep in mind, Atlanta's trying to close it out at the Knicks Madison Square Garden here. So 6 point per dollar value. I consider them a GPP option just as a whole. Clint Capella also showing very well on their sheet. 5.9 point per dollar value. 7.6K is definitely undervalued. And he hasn't been playing the best basketball here versus the Knicks. 34 projected minutes, 14.4% projected ownership. So I just like him for GPP. Same thing with Bogdanovich, John Collins, Trae Young. We know has a flamethrower, 8.9K price tag, and he has been a very safe value play just in terms of a pay up option here for the Atlanta Hawks. So I do like him here at 13.2% ownership. Just GPPs for the Atlanta Hawks, not the most upside just given the Vegas total points, but I do think a lot of these guys could smash your value. It's just a matter of choosing the correct ones. My favorite options from this team are going to be Hunter, Capella, and also Trae Young. Switching over to the other side of the ball, the price tag has finally come up on Derrick Rose to the point where I'm not really on him. 7.3K I think is an appropriate price tag. He's slightly undervalued still, 5.1 point per dollar value, but definitely not cash viable. Like I said, this entire game is going to be GPP worthy, and if you land on Derrick Rose for GPPs, I won't hate you for it. RJ Barrett, a ton of minutes with upside. Julius Randle, 9K. The price tag has come down, and he actually hit value pretty easily last game. They're going to need him tonight, so I do like him in terms of his upside. 37 projected minutes rather, and 19% ownership. So the good thing about Julius Randle is he is power forward eligible, so I do like that in terms of lineup construction, but the rest of these guys are just going to be GPP options. As you guys can see, the ownership is very, very low on all these guys. My favorite options from this team are going to be Julius Randle and also Derrick Rose. Going down the list here, Memphis Grizzlies. They have been scoring a tremendous amount of points here versus the Utah Jazz. I said last time on stream, these guys aren't expected to score 140 points every single game, just as a game total in general. They didn't, but they still scored 113 points. It's just crazy to me against Utah. Right now, they're projected to score 108 tonight. I do like these guys just because these guys play a tremendous amount of minutes. We're not used to seeing these amount of minutes when looking back on this team as a whole in the regular season, but they just are playing 35 plus minutes. Like guys like Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson has even seen an increase in minutes. Like Valanciunas is playing 35 plus minutes. He was only playing about 28 to 30 during the regular season. I'd say the only exception to this is going to be Jaren Jackson, who's only playing about 27 minutes. But I love the upside on these guys. Jonas Valanciunas has been kind of lackluster here, but he has been going against one of the best defensive centers in the NBA. So I won't knock him for that. But still, 7.7K is a fair price tag here for Valanciunas, and he's actually showing a decent amount of ownership. So I consider him cash viable, and I think he has to pick it up tonight if these guys want to continue their playoff run here versus Utah Jazz. Jaren Jackson, definitely going to be GPP viable. His price tag at 5.4K was very appealing. He's just so hit or miss when you're talking in terms of shooting. Like, he's still shooting the ball 18 times a game. 9 for 18, had a very good shooting performance, but the game before that, he shot 3 of 11. The good thing about Jaren Jackson is he still has a decent amount of usage to really warrant this price tag of 5.6K, but just a GPP play for me for Jaren Jackson. Grayson Allen, 3.8K. Not really intrigued there. Guys with high minutes and high upside with low ownership are going to be John Morant, Dylan Brooks, and also Kyle Anderson. Love these guys given their ownership. Like, John Morant's playing 40 plus minutes, and he's still hitting value every single game, so absolutely love him for GPPs. And same thing with Dylan Brooks, who's been balling as well. Switching over to the Utah Jazz here. Again, GPP options all the way around. The ownership is very, very low on these guys with a decent amount of upside. Rudy Gobert, 8K's price tag did come up. Didn't perform very well last game, I know, because I had him in Showdown, but did struggle in the very first quarter. Only got like 2 fantasy points and ended with 32, so I expect him to get back on track. I think that ownership is pretty fair, and definitely a lot of center options on the slate. I don't think Rudy Gobert pops to the top of the board when comparing him amongst other centers. But Donovan Mitchell, 8.2K, did play very, very well in his last game and saw 35 minutes. It looks like the leash has been taken off of Donovan Mitchell, and I love the fact that he's also shooting guard eligible. Donovan Mitchell is a good play tonight, but just for GPPs. The rest of these guys, like Mike Conley's minutes, are being limited now, only showing 32 minutes from his last game. Was playing 35 plus, and I loved him then, but definitely am off of him now. Jordan Clarkson at 6K, only projected about 22 minutes, is definitely not that intriguing as well. So just GPP plays from this game. Last but not least, let's talk about Dallas versus the Clippers. Dallas, on their side of the ball, is definitely going to be more GPP viable just because of all the ownership. The ownership is very, very low. Tim Hardaway showing good minutes. Like, all these guys are the exact same point per dollar value at a 5.8 point per dollar value. So, yes, they're okay. I'm just not in love with them. Finney Smith getting a ton of minutes here. 38 minutes, just hasn't really done much with them. Porzingis, same exact thing, like showing 35 plus minutes. But the one guy, Doncic, is going to make for a very contrarian build. Not too many people are going to land on Doncic tonight, but if they want to close it out tonight, they're going to need Doncic. Keep in mind, it is at the Clippers, and it seems like Doncic has performed well at their stadium every single time. So Doncic here showing 39 projected minutes, and I expect him to be a very contrarian play, only showing 16.8% ownership. It makes for a very good GPP option. Clippers are still showing fantastic value and a decent amount of ownership here on the board. It's crazy to think that before this series started, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were both at the 8K price tag. Makes absolutely no sense, and it still doesn't really make sense at their current price tag. Paul George showing an 8.8K price tag, Kawhi Leonard 9.6K price tag. Makes no sense to me. These guys are still undervalued, and I do prefer Paul George just slightly more given his price tag here at 8.8K. Comes out to a 5.6 point per dollar value, and then also Kawhi Leonard coming out to a 5.5 point per dollar value. They're expected to be playing 38 plus minutes, and they're going to need to win this game at home. They need to step it up. Like I said, I prefer Paul George just a little bit more. But I want to talk about these value plays here with Serge Ibaka off the court. Reggie Jackson averaging close to a fantasy point per minute at 4.7K, 32 projected minutes. I love him too. I don't love him as much as Hachimura, but I still do like that price tag on him. 5.9 point per dollar value. Same thing with Marcus Morris. Marcus Morris has been sucking. I get it, but still 4.6K price tag. Projected 32 minutes. Comes out to a 5.8 point per dollar value. I love the value from these guys. Love it so much. I would compare it to the Philly and Washington value, just not over Hachimura. Same thing with Batum. 4.3K price tag and a 21.6% ownership. 5.6 point per dollar value. Just love the value plays all the way around. And I consider these guys cash viable, just teetering on that GPP territory just because the Philly and Washington game is going to have higher ownership. So great pivot options all the way around here from the Clippers value. The rest of these guys like Rajon Rondo, not projected to get that many minutes. Zubac, Man, Beverly kind of fall by the wayside just in terms of their minute upside and their production as a whole. But that would be it, guys. I'm going to switch over to my PrizePicks board, and then I will give away my final lineup here. You guys seem to like that format in terms of building a lineup. I give away a core. I show you where my head's at when building a lineup. So we're going to be doing that here at the very end of this video. But first, we're going to go over my favorite PrizePick pick here. Enter code using DGF for 100% matchup to $100. Our members have been absolutely killing it in terms of PrizePicks. If you guys haven't signed up, again, you just get a promo code for watching this video, DGF. When signing up, 100% matchup to $100 is just free money if you guys just want to test this out. My favorite PrizePick pick on this board is Jonas Valanciunas, 36 over. He's been right around 36 points his past like 4 games, but he's just been straight up bad here in these playoffs. And I think that he really needs to step it up tonight if they want to win this game and keep their playoff run going. And 36 just is really, really low. We have him projected for about 43 fantasy points, so we have him hitting the over about 59% of the time. And I just think that that fantasy score is way too low for Valanciunas, and he is chalky on DraftKings for what it's worth. So 36 fantasy point. Go ahead and hit the over there on Jonas Valanciunas. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to the DraftKings board. I'm going to show you where my head is at, and if I'm building a lineup starting tonight, I'm starting out with Daniel Gafford and Hachimura. Way too much upside for both of those players, and Gafford to me is just the most obvious play on the slate. Gafford, Hachimura, and I love Hachimura because he's also power forward eligible, and these guys just have way too much upside at their price point. It's going to be Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and then these guys in terms of the usage. Looking down the list here, I might go with a double center build here, but I'm going to hold off on Dwight Howard. I think Dwight Howard's very viable when it comes to cash in a one lineup. Also, keep in mind the top 4 values for me are going to be centers, so I'm going to go to some guard play here. Technically, Raul Neto shows the next best, projected 23 minutes. I don't hate that play at 3.3K, but I'm going to probably go to another player here. DeAndre Hunter, a ton of minutes is going to fly under the radar for me, so I like him. I'm going to plug and play him. Let's go ahead and put Hunter and then follow that up with Tobias Harris, just because I feel like Tobias Harris is a phenomenal play tonight. Probably the most obvious play on the slate in terms of cash and GPP. Reggie Jackson, another great one. Clint Capella following it up. Jaren Jackson. Like, there's a ton of players to choose from. I have about 7K left here on the board. Where do I go after this? By the way, this would probably be my core if I had to give you guys a core right now. Keep in mind, DeAndre Hunter is showing very low ownership. Let's go. It's almost forcing me to have like a stars and scrubs type lineup. So let's do that. You know what? Let's go ahead and put Raul Neto in there. Let's just stack up on these value plays for the Washington Wizards. I have about 8K left. Let's go to Dwight Howard. Double center build and see how much it gives me. I have 10K left for shooting guard and a guard. Is that even possible? Let's sort this in terms of guard play. Paul George at 8.8K. Can I make that happen? Paul George and Russell Westbrook. That's just way too many Wizards in my opinion. Let's switch it up just a tad. Let's go. Can I do Doncic? Doncic and then Bradley Beal. That's not bad. Again, way too many Wizards. Let's do this. Let's back this up and not put Dwight Howard in there. I like the NATO play. I really do. Let's put Doncic, George, and for my util spot, $5,200. Hopefully it lands on a good guy. Joe Ingles, Alec Burks. Okay, you could go down to Danny Green at $4,900, so I don't hate that. There's a lot of flexibility with this lineup in general, so I do like that. Let's try one more route here. Let me see what I can do if I get Kawhi Leonard in there. Kawhi, Doncic, shooting guard 44. Shooting guard. Herter. Brunson. Not Bertans. Okay, yeah, I like my build before. So if I back it up here and go George, Doncic, and end on Danny Green, I feel like that's a very good lineup, because if you guys think about this, like, you're grabbing all the value in the highest pace game. If you're talking about value plays that could go off, it's going to be from this Washington Wizards Philly game. Nato, great value. Paul George, just a good value play in terms of a pay-up option. DeAndre Hunter, one of my favorite GPP plays on the slate. Hachimura, obvious play. Gafford, obvious play. Doncic, best pay-up option on the slate by far, besides Russell Westbrook. Tobias Harris, obvious play. And then Danny Green is going to be cash viable as well. $4,900, could easily step it up tonight without Joel Embiid on the court. And you could also go Ben Simmons here. I didn't even talk about Ben Simmons. So there's a lot of different ways you can go tonight. But if I had to lock in one lineup, it'd probably be this. As you guys know, I play a majority of MME lineups and a lot of single entry lineups across the board. So I don't usually enter one lineup. That's not what I do. That's what TJ does. But if I had to enter one, this is probably where I would go as of right now. All right, guys, hopefully you did enjoy this content. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course smash that like button for all of our future NBA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.